welcome to another episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Our hosts, Sri Rajgopalan, Peter V.S. Bond, and Brian Gildenberg explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPG Guys. Hello and welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. I'm PVSB, and when I'm not co-hosting this podcast, I serve as Partnership Acceleration Lead at Flywheel, a division of Omnicom that helps enterprise brands improve their SEO and SEM, growing their e-commerce business. My co-founder and co-host of the CPG Guys, Sri, he's traveling back from Cannes Lions today. He's somewhere, I don't know if he's over the Atlantic or over the United States, but he's somewhere on his way from Heathrow to Los Angeles, La La Land. And as you may know, he's also co-founder and partner of Think Blue, the consulting agency that's your key to unlocking your profitability potential. As builders, connectors, and amplifiers, they shape the future of commerce to drive your growth. Make sure to listen to Sri's performing artist daughters, Ria and Lara, along with his wife, Kavita Raj. She has her own podcast, Lights, Camera, Conversation. It's on iHeartRadio and all streaming platforms. Before we get to our guests, we want to also ask you, please help spread the word about this community we've created in the CPG Guys. Beyond sharing our podcast with your friends, if you're using Apple Podcasts or Spotify as your preferred listening platform, I can't say please enough. Please leave us a rating. We need it because it helps feed the algorithm that makes our podcast more findable by CPG retail professionals like you who are looking to be both educated and entertained. So please leave us a rating. While you're there, write a review. Tell us what you think. People you want us to invite, topics you want us to cover. That's the best way we get feedback. We're also very happy that CPG Guys is part of an impressive collection of highly rated podcasts, including CPG Scoop with Reese and Jennifer and the FMCG Guys. We were just with Daniel over at Cannes Lions and his co-hosts, Efrain and Christine. Links to our podcast, our sister casts, and the social media profiles of Sri's daughters, Ria and Lara, his wife's podcast, and I think his cats all have their own Instagram pages too. I mean, it's like it's the budding Raj entertainment empire. I'm just a small cog in this. I'm just along for the ride. But do check them. They're all in the digital liner notes of this podcast. You don't have to write anything down. They're hyperlinks all available to you. Why don't we get our conversation going? So coming off Cannes Lions, I can tell you that every single presentation I went to at Cannes, within the first 5 minutes, the term artificial intelligence appeared. It's a buzzword. You know, my question is it reality in CPG and retail now? It's certainly something everybody's talking about. Much have been said about it the last few years, and much has been put forward. A lot of people said, it's going to replace jobs. I've heard that before in prior generations and prior technologies. Create more automation speed, better gamification to captivate consumers, and run larger algorithms on the fly. I mean, what does this all even mean, right? So we're partnering in this episode with Spring Global Solutions USA, a company renowned for its engineering excellence in CPG Salesforce automation software. Spring Global is pioneering AI products for retail execution and consumer packaged goods sales. Joining us today is Conor Keane. He's the CEO of Spring Global, a company renowned for its engineering excellence in CPG Salesforce automation software. Spring Global is pioneering AI products for retail execution and CPG sales. With a strong background in technology and business strategy, Conor is dedicated to delivering a real value through the adoption of AI. We're pleased also to have joining Conor and me today, Andre Souza, who is head of data science at Spring Global. He has experience in the retail industry, CPG, and the healthcare vertical. His expertise lies in time series forecasting, data quality, data scalability, and generative AI. However, Andre believes that the key to success is not the data method, but the ability to effectively solve problems. That's something we're going to want to dig into. Conor, Andre, welcome to the CPG Guys. How you doing?
Good morning, Peter. Thanks very much. Very well indeed. Thanks.
It's good to be talking to you. And I almost canceled this interview when Conor, but prior to the conversation, mentioned that he was a big San Francisco Giants fan. I'm like, It's like an anathema. Usually we're talking about the Red Sox fans that irritate Shree, but like the Giants, it's okay. It's okay. Hey, Conor, before we get started with the questions I prepared, can you give us a quick overview of Spring Global and your current role as CEO?
Yes, I'm the CEO of Spring Global. We've been a software company focused on field operations for the last 20 years, well established. For the last 4 or 5 years, we've been very focused on AI and deploying AI into the field operations with a view to driving efficiency and increasing sales. So making AI real.
And Andre, same to you. Tell us about what your role is at Spring Global.
Absolutely. Well, since I'm the head of data science, I'm responsible to transform business problem with AI and machine learning solutions. So all the products that Spring had so far that needs attention with data quality, and also to transform that in solutions with artificial intelligence, I'm the one responsible to develop it.
Thank you both, gentlemen, for that brief overview. In the digital liner notes of this episode, we're going to include hyperlinks to each of your LinkedIn profiles, Spring Global's LinkedIn page, and of course your corporate website. So our inquisitive audience that loves to multitask, they'll be out running on a Saturday morning. They'll have the earphones in their heads and they'll have the iPhone in their hand, and they'll start scrolling. Just don't do it when you're crossing the street. Try to pay attention, but make sure you're doing that. But seriously, to our audience, that's where you're going to find out more about them. Go to the digital liner notes of this episode. So let's start the questions. I'll open it up with you, Conor. The world today is largely using AI as a buzzword. I mean, my God, I saw a lot of people up on stage at the last 2 conferences, but they're all saying either they're honest about not knowing what to do, or they're saying, well, we're in very early stages and we can't tell you. So I guess the question is, there are lots of AI mandates, but also lots of confusion and skepticism. My question to you is, why is this still largely stuck in this paradigm? How do we break out of that?
We do see a lot of people with AI mandates from the CEOs. The CEOs perceive a threat or an opportunity from AI and want to deploy it, and it flows down to the CIO in the form of a mandate to start using AI, and they come to us, and they have project ideas. So, but it's still quite experimental. Many CPGs have been using AI for pricing algorithms or assortment algorithms for the last 4 or 5 years, and so now it's going beyond that, and they're coming up with new use cases for it, and we are helping them with that. We'll talk about that later. But there are many of them who it's still very experimental. But there are many of them who are very skeptical. I think some of them, I honestly think it's hype and will blow over, and just are waiting for that hype to blow over. And I think that's probably a bad strategy. I think it's more, my advice to them is always pick a project that you can be successful in that will deliver meaningful ROI, and start there and then build on that.
Yeah, I think hoping that it's going to go away is an effort in futility. I have a dear friend of mine who's the chief digital officer at one of the largest CPG manufacturers. And a couple of years ago, he'd get an email a week from his CEO. And then it was 2 a week. And then it was 1 a day. And I spoke with him this week, and he's getting probably 2 emails a day, mostly forwards of articles. And the CEO is basically telling him, I'm hearing this. The analysts are asking about it. The board's asking about it. You gotta start doing something. So yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of pressure. The question is, to your point, where you start. Andre, needless to say, artificial intelligence is only as good as the data input parameters, right? Garbage in, garbage out. For any AI-based solution being built, what's the best way to ensure, from your perspective, the data input is solid and the resulting outcomes are too?
Absolutely. So one of the most important ensuring methods that we have with AI, AI is just basically the end. We need to ensure that we have a very clear and very robust data cleaning process. And why do I say that? As you really said, garbage in, garbage out. AI, machine learning, they're just training methods, but they need to be trained with good data. Need to be training with data that has a pre-processing, that the data that is being trained reflects the reality of the company. How do we ensure that? With a very strict and very detailed data cleaning process. That where our data scientists spend 80% of the time working.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I was talking with a couple people this week in Cannes, and particularly ones that are companies that work in this space, and they were telling me there are too many manufacturers think that they already have clean data, and they don't. They're not even remotely close to it, and the hope that they're going to be able to make anything meaningful to improve efficiency through AI is probably still very much a pipe dream. So to your point, yeah, you've got to get that right. Andre, let's talk a little bit about privacy, because clean rooms, we're not talking about, where data is commingled. We're not talking about where they keep the Windex in the Formula 409, right? That's all about privacy. And it's about making sure that everybody's data set is as private as possible. When it comes to AI, is there a privacy concern? Can anyone use publicly available data and build solid AI engines and feed them and feed into generative AI like Chat GPT on a public basis? Like, is that really something that you would recommend CPG brands to do? What are your thoughts around the privacy concern?
That's one of the most important aspects when we're talking about generative AI. We need to make sure that when we create an AI agent, a generative AI, we need to be very strict privacy policies, by very restrictive process that can ensure that, hey, I'm training a generative AI, so I'm passing my data, I'm passing my client's data, I'm passing intelligence to that AI engineer. So we have like very important process to ensure that. So we cannot just say and go to the Chat GPT and upload our client's database. We have security way to ensure that. One of the ways is using Chat GPT API. So here we need to make sure, and we are very strict and very worried about private data. So if you want to have your own AI engines, your own AI works, you need to be sure using an API, reading the documentation, because we don't want that our private information go public and or be training with someone else knowledge. So that's definitely one important topic.
So if I go to take that a little further, Andre, if I go to Chat GPT and I put in a prompt and I query something, it's going and sourcing data that's publicly available to answer that. But in effect, it's also learning from me and the questions I ask, right? So anyone who competes with me is going to benefit from the for lack of a better term, the tell that I'm giving it by asking a poignant question. It's going to say, oh, somebody wants to know about that. And based upon how I respond and delve further, that's going to feed in and inform someone who comes after me, maybe a competitor of mine, about how I'm thinking about something. And that's a real concern for companies that are trying to build a differentiated approach. Because it's interesting. I always look at AI as being the challenge is it's trying to make it more efficient and try to make it more standard, but that in some degrees is kind of antithetical to what a brand building exercise is about, right? Because it's about setting yourself apart. So it's really, really fascinating from my perspective. Conor, let's talk about how your company is addressing these issues, because I think that's really important. We can identify lots of pain points. The question is, how do you solve them? CPG field processes such as retail execution are theoretically a really good use case for applied AI, right? For applying AI, because what are you doing? You're taking repetitive, sometimes mundane, certainly very intense processes, right? And you're going to be able to take a lot of data, a repeatable process, something that's very labor intensive, right? And try to solve for it. You're looking, from what I understand at Spring Global, into scaling solutions that address these issues. Give us the details here.
Exactly. So you're right. Those three criteria make retail execution, specifically a good use case. So data, plenty of data, it's very repeatable, very labor intensive. So it's a good place to apply it. We were talking about baseball earlier. We used the analogy of Moneyball.
You had me at Moneyball, Conor. You know that's one of my favorites. Permanently on the bookshelf.
Exactly. And if you remember a scene in the movie, which is a great movie, the old scout wants to take a particular batter, and Brad's character and Jonas are trying to persuade them that actually the scout says he's not a good batter. He doesn't have an attractive girlfriend, which is indicative of a lack of confidence. And of course, those old heuristics, those rules of thumb, don't tie up to the actual data. And the data show that particular batter as being very good at getting on base. And so what we're trying to do is apply data to the traditional processes and strategies of retail execution. But we'll talk about DSD, but it also applies to any channel, any go-to-market strategy. But an example might be all of those things that flow into the day in the life of a field rep. In a DSD scenario, you might have a key account manager plan for the chain. He might have a survey. He might have an order, suggested order. Do all of those things actually help you sell business? And are they all valuable? Are they all contributing to the mission? So we use AI to just measure their effectiveness and optimize all of those things such that the rep is actually doing those things he should be doing that can contribute to the mission. So there's an example of using hard-code data to optimize. And there's a perfect use case for AI.
I don't know about you, Conor, but when I'm watching a baseball game now, if I see a batter bunt, I start screaming at the television like, what? Do you not pay attention to statistics? Did you not read Moneyball? So to your point I think it's very true, right? They make decisions that are based on legacy decisions. They're based upon not factual sets of information or even currently relevant factual sets of information. And so turning to the data as the source of truth is going to get you better outcomes. You just have to make sure that it's a pretty clean data set that you can access. A reminder, audience, that I'm speaking with Conor Keane, is the CEO, and Andre Souza is the head of data science at Spring Global. So, Conor, let's talk about job fear, because I kind of made reference to that when I came in. Everyone talks about AI is going to replace my job. I'm a content creator, and it's going to take over all that, so my job is going to be lost. Or I'm a coder, my job is going to be lost. Is there some truth to this? And if so, what should those who are impacted be learning to stay relevant and connected to the new work streams that emerge? Because I think it's more about work streams than it is about, we're not all going to be sitting by the swimming pool while computers are doing all this work. There's probably still a lot of need, just different types of needs. I'll let you elaborate on this.
Exactly. We have a product called Coach, and Coach is used to coach field reps to be better reps. And actually, the task is to help the reps move, in that particular case, from being transactional order takers or checkers into being consultative sellers. Put the sales back in selling, and it's designed to modify their behavior as they go through their visit through embedded coaching based on what they do. We look at what they do based on what they do. If it's the right thing or wrong thing, we might suggest some coaching. For example, if they're supposed to propose a promo or a new placement and that is not taken up by the retailer, we will have to look at that and say maybe they're not very good at closing, maybe they're not good at relationships, whatever it might be, and introduce training within that visit, either call a video call, a PowerPoint, whatever it might be, and give them a little test. But that's an example of AI being used in a way that makes the field rep or the individual better at their job. So we call it amplifying the expertise. You take the expertise of the really good reps and you permeate that across the entire Salesforce. So that all boats are lifted in that scenario. We think there is an impact in jobs at the supervisor level, middle management, but not a negative one. there is a division of labor. The algorithms that we're seeing will take on the more boring, repetitive work that you see supervisors doing, like tracing down data, solving problems, staffing. The machines can do that. And our view is that it frees up the supervisors to do what they're better at, which is recruiting talent, coaching, spending time with customers. So our sense of this is the jobs may or may not be reduced. It's too early to tell, but I don't think it's likely to make a huge impact. And the ROIs on these deployments, the return, the big return, is on increased sales just for making all the reps more productive. I have never seen a reduction of supervisors or middle management being a significant factor in an ROI calculation. So this division of labor is the way I think it's going to go. And if you want to remain relevant and valuable, you will embrace the AI tools rather than fight them. This is good. This will be the guy. You will never lose your job. There's now an established saying: you won't lose your job to AI. You'll lose your job to somebody who's using AI to be more productive. So embrace it and use it, and we think everybody will win.
Conor, so it seems to me like this coach solution that you have is ideal for a distributed workforce, because the old days of training is you bring all your sales reps in from there, you take them off the floor, you train everybody on the same thing, even if they didn't need to know it. That's what they were there for. And so it was highly inefficient. Seems like you can use the data, identify what the issue, prescribe the right training for the right person at the right time, and you can be much more efficient. And that's what this system allows you to do. Is that basically the gist of this?
Absolutely correct. And so there are large libraries of very intelligent digital training available, and most of the larger companies have them. But it basically pulling in that relevant piece of information like closing or building relationships or product-specific explanations. All of those things that will make a rep better are now available in snippets, but only where relevant. You're right. You don't need to train. Some people are very good at product knowledge. Some people are very good at closing. You have to pick that piece of information that the person is lacking on and help them, coach them to get better at the bits that are missing. So yes, you can be selective on how you deploy the knowledge.
So you can build a tool, right, that can do all this. The problem is just because you build it, it's like Field of Dreams. If you build it, he will come. Well, will he come? The question I have is, you've built a tool, but employees aren't going to use it if it's not engaging. So my understanding is you've built your solutions to some degree around gamification with AI that will help Salesforce employees actually want to engage with this. That there's some value here that they actually like doing this, and it's particularly attractive for recruiting and retaining Gen Z workforce members. Would love for you guys, whichever one of you wants to jump in first, and talk a little bit about how you see this coming to life in the solutions you built.
When we're talking about gamification, I mean, we live in a world that Generation Z or my generation, we love game. We have a lot of gamers. Gaming is a powering industry. And with gamification, what we want to do, we want people to have fun, to feel that, hey, I am relaxing while I'm doing my job, while I'm being like efficiency. So with the gamification, the idea is while you are working, you also can have fun. So that's why we think that this is important, because we want to make the sales rep their work more efficient and in a way that, hey, I like what I'm doing. See, I'm receiving rewards for my work in this game. So, hey, I see a true value on that. I don't know if Conor's agree with me, but we have gamers, we want the job to be made with more pleasure.
Just by way of, again, data, we did poll, we constantly look at our users. We saw at one point 80% of our users were men between the age of 20 and 32, and 80% of them were gamers. And therefore, they recognize when they see a game, they know what to do.
Yeah.
It's quite natural.
So you've made a solution that is intuitive to the audience that you're trying to engage. That means they'll use it. That means you'll build the data. That means you'll be able to then prescribe the way to address the issues that this workforce has in trying to make them much more efficient at what they do. Okay, I got it. All right. So, Conor, I want you to now talk about some of the solutions that Spring Global has built: Command Center, Edge AI, and you made early reference a little bit to Coach AI. What are these, and who are they relevant to in terms of the workforce archetype?
We aim our products at the CCO, CRO, VP of Sales, so the Chief Customer Officer, Chief Revenue Officer, VP of Sales, and his or her organization. But the Command Center AI is a product aimed at that top level executive. And it is simply a place where all data, all KPIs are assembled in one place, such that that leader has a macro view of their business. It goes beyond what they might have today in terms of dashboards, in that behind the dashboard, you'll have a series of algorithms and machine learning, monitoring KPIs, monitoring field activity, and looking for anomalies, trying to predict anomalies, doing root cause analysis for the leader, and then giving that and pushing insights to him or her, and then giving them the action to follow up on the insight. They have a series of playbooks that they can deploy that basically sends instructions back to their direct reports or into the field, and then tracks the execution of it. And that's what I would call anomaly monitoring. But you can equally use it strategically, where if you create your go-to-market plan and then want to deploy it from Command Center, you basically push it out from Command Center down into the field. It shows up on the devices of the supervisors and field reps. So it basically is a way to manage the strategic and tactical nature activities of your business in one place, always up to date, real time. And machine learning is in basically what you're doing today, which is a lot of manual monitoring and thinking done by the leaders and their team, is really delegated now to the various algorithms that are watching the field, looking for the activities. And also little useful tools like revenue forecasting. You can do a store level build up of revenue and forecast out accurately about 90 days if you have enough data. So again, just helping a leader see if he or she is on track for the quarter. So that's what Command Center is, just a place for that individual to manage their business. And Coach is a derivative of that, which I explained. Is they're helping then execute when they want to transform their salespeople. Basically, Coach is transformational, which has to be driven from the CEO, CCO down, and is a way to convert that Salesforce into being a more consultative seller, Salesforce rather than transactional. So that's an example of Coach. That would be a CCO, CRO driven activity into the field.
When I think of enterprise solutions for Salesforce automation, I think of course, Salesforce, right? And I know that any company worth its salt needs like a full-time or multiple Salesforce engineers to make this work. I guess my question is this something that the archetype leaders that you mentioned earlier, that you find that they're able to get up to speed and use pretty quickly? And how much maintenance and effort is this on the part of the organization to make this a truly useful and measurably performative solution?
I think in this case, the solution like Command Center has to be a do it for me. It can't be a series of tools that you give to them so they can assemble their own. We do most of the solution build for them and solution maintenance, and we are seeing a situation where right now in a lot of even large CPG companies, the data science teams and others are overwhelmed, and so we take on the building and maintenance of this. We take on the data cleaning, and the CCO, CRO, when they go into this tool, what they want to know with 100% assurance is that the data is complete, accurate, and valid and current. And that's our job to make sure that that's the case when they get in there and see it. And so we do that for them as it's a software product with all that is done as part of the subscription.
That's great. So it's not just here's your download, good luck, we'll see you later. It's we get you up and running, and then and they're not responsible for having to do that hard lift to actually get to the point of actually using this.
Yes, in this stage of AI deployment, the some assembly required model isn't really helpful.
Are the batteries in the box? That's what I want to know. My daughter got a toy the other day and it came with no battery, and it wasn't like a AA or AAA. It was a C battery. Like, who still has C batteries? Like, at 9 o'clock at night, I had to drive down to the local drugstore to go get the battery, because you think my daughter was going to wait until the morning? I don't think so. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. All right. It's been my experience that supply chain has been one of the very first adopters of artificial intelligence as a mechanism. So, and obviously supply chain to me just screams retail. So I guess my question to you this, do you see retailers really through their demands kind of pushing or I hate using the word force, but certainly by virtue of their asks, directing brands to really adopt AI solutions to improve the supply chain situation? And if so, where do you think this is all going to start?
Yeah, so I can take this one. I don't know if I mentioned, but I've worked with retailers with a long couple of years ago, and also I live in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So the retail company, they use like AI a lot. So we since we are working in a manufacturing service, we want to make sure that the manufacturing are making the job of the retail easier. And one of the biggest problem that the industry face is the supply chain. One of the examples that we can bring is the breakdown. So imagine that you are buying some stuff on the e-commerce, your customer buy that on the app, but you don't have that on your shelf. So using machine learning, using artificial intelligence that can forecast the demand, can be narrowed, can be very precise models, very precise AI that will prevent that kind of breakdown from happening. So when we're talking about here, the supply chain, it's facing a lot of issues, but a lot of retail companies and also as manufacturing companies are using AI, generative AI, to forecast the demand and then to avoid that problems to happen.
If I would just add, I do see that the retailers have been very advanced at using data and AI for quite some time. The manufacturers, they might get upset with me saying this, are not quite there yet in terms of they're not equal. There is pressure being put on manufacturers, at least our clients and customers, to accommodate the requirements of the retailers. The retailers' forecasting models are very precise and very fine, and their pressure is on the manufacturers to be able to sell and execute at the same level of precision that the retailers want them to, and they're not all equipped to do that. And that's one of the things we're trying to enable with Command Center, with Coach, is to get them to that level of precision and responsiveness that the sophisticated retailers are now demanding.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Gentlemen, so much is changing so quickly. I'm kind of curious, as two people trying to be at the leading edge of solutions that address this transformative economy we're in, what are some of the trends that you're following around artificial intelligence that this CPG retail focused audience that listens to this podcast should probably be paying attention to themselves and asking more questions about?
That's a very interesting point. Right now, the trends of AI that we are following here is we have machine talk to machine, algorithms talking to algorithm. And when can I bring in an example? Let's say, for example, there is companies that building AIs that, hey, I want to build my specific app. So they go to this AI website, they say, I want an app for my e-commerce. And then you have a lot of mini AI agents. One is a front end, other is just a back end, and the AI start to working with and talking with each other. That's very interesting, but we need to be focused on responsible AI. You need to be aware of what they do, and you need to be guiding them to be on the right path, because AI has no feeling, AI has no thoughts if they are doing right or bad to the community. So we are analyzing these AI agents, but we also are very aware to have a responsible AI.
Yeah, we're asking people when we do projects, we're asking people now, we've learned to ask as part of governance, project governance, to establish a responsible AI committee And if people don't have ethical AI guidelines, we ask them or we'll help them to create them. And again, we want to avoid some. You've seen some embarrassing stories with some tech companies where, the machines are just machines. The machine's just going to, they'll spout an insight based on raw data, but that may or may not be politically acceptable or even socially acceptable. And you have to take responsibility, and you have to make an effort to make sure that the outputs are in keeping with your company brand and in keeping with your ethical guidelines and your ethos. And that's, we've learned now to plan for that and make it part of project governance.
That is phenomenal. I'm going to ask one more question to you, Conor, specifically, and it's just this. If I'm a CPG brand leader, I'm trying to figure out how to drive efficiency into my Salesforce, and particularly into my supply chain operations. How do they get in touch with you? What's the best way to reach out to you?
Through our website, you can get to us, but you can also get to me always at ckeane@springglobal.com, CKEANE, and I will be glad to speak to people. Our first interaction with folks is always consultative, trying to understand what people are doing. But please do reach out to me, Andre and I, and we have a large team of data scientists. We'll be very glad and interested to talk to you.
That's terrific. I want to remind our audience, stop by cpgguys.com. It's a great website. You can find all of our content, our episodes in particular. They're all curated and filtered and organized by topics you like AI and retail media and what have you. Makes it easier to find episodes that are relevant to you. And if you think you or your company has some thought leadership like Conor and Andre shared with us today, drop us a line at contact@cpgguys.com. Maybe you can join us on the CPG Guys podcast to talk more about it. And of course, if you're on our site on the navigation bar, or you're on, again, Spotify or Apple, please leave us a rating. We really do want it. It's you can choose whatever number you want. My favorite number is 5, as I like to say, but any number you want. But seriously, what's more important to us or equally important, is you leave a review, because we want to hear from you. What do you like? What do you not like? We know you don't like the Yankees. It's okay. I don't like them either, but Shree's not here, so he can't say anything about it. But seriously, tell us what you like, what you don't like, and we'll try and fine tune this podcast and our conversations to be more around what you want to hear more about. And of course, last, I'll just say thank you to the 33,000 plus followers we have on LinkedIn. It amazes me sometimes. Coming back from Cannes, I found out that even across the pond, there are people that clearly follow us. I think every day I probably had 8 or 9 people stop me as I'm walking through the beachfront in Cannes to do a selfie with me. I'm like, I'm a podcaster. What do you want to do a selfie with me for? But anyhow, we're very honored by it. Hey, Conor and Andre, thanks so much for coming on and telling us about how Spring Global is bringing AI to help solve and make more efficient the activities of CPG brands, field forces. It's really great. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Peter. I'm a big fan of the podcast. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks again, Peter. It was amazing to be here.
And to our audience, hope you enjoyed this. This is a really good episode from my perspective, because we talk about this big, hairy, ugly, scary challenge called AI. And what Spring Global is doing is they're boiling that down to, okay, we know problems that are common for CPG brands. This can be clearly applied to Salesforce automation and optimization. And this is a perfectly ideal application for AI. It seems like they've built some really great tools. They'll help get you up to speed. They're not going to send you a box or send you a link to a Google Drive and download the software and say, good luck, you're off on your own. No, this is a much more of a hands-on approach to get it configured to your needs. And then it's kind of, after that's done, then it's kind of like, okay, you're off to the races, get it done. Thank you for joining us. As always, Shree will be back, I'm sure, for the next episode. So we look forward to speaking with you again soon on the CPG Guys podcast. Goodbye. The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.